Welcome to Conversations and Catapults, the #1 after show for the #1 D&D podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I am joined by the top scoring students at Wildcliff. Say hello, top scorers.
Wow, I am a top scorer, literally #1. This has never happened before in my life. My name is Ben.
I'm number 6. Suck that. I'm Integrity Attleberry, played by Carla from the hit show Trials and Trebuchets.
Okay, well, top scorer is a little generous, but I did end up in the top half, so I'll take it. My name is Sarah, and I play Mira Marchand.
I mean, obviously, congratulations to Winsler. I'm happy to have kept at least in the top 3. My name is Sam, and I play Sarah Sinderman.
Welcome, everyone. How did it feel like? Do you get the same sense of anxiety looking at these fictional exam scores that you did looking at your actual exam ones, or no? Because I actually did feel very triumphant when I had everyone,
right?
All of the scores were read off.
I didn't feel anxious at the grades necessarily, but I feel like there is a fun little life simulation aspect specifically to, before this session started, Luke sent us all a list of possible classes we could take, so we got to do course selection. And there was something so almost realistically fun about just getting to select my fake little courses and getting to plan my made up class schedule.
It's very fun. It's literally like simulating real life.
But with magic.
Wow.
But with magic. Plus, the class names are so funny, at least for most of them. So that was quite exciting.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you want to see all of the students' class schedules, I'm sure that we can get those up on fucking Instagram at Charles and Trebs.
At Trials and
You know,
Trebs.
we could do that.
Nice
We
plug.
could. Yeah. Maybe if you follow it, you'll see. Go now to find out. But not only did we get, the beginning of the new school year, your exam results, all of the new classes, but we also got to have, before any of that, a send-off to our favorite father figure, Artist Artesian.
Yes.
Which I thought all of your little scenes with that old dog went pretty well.
I'm so glad that he's gone now.
Yeah!
Sucks to suck. Get out of here, old man. We run this cottage now.
Do you think your replacement is going to, or his replacement is going to be someone that we already know, or is it going to be a new character, do you reckon?
I don't know if we might even get a replacement, honestly. The possibility is there, but I just can't see us with anyone else other than him as a mentor, even though he's not present at the school. It just feels weird.
I agree.
Hear me out. On all of our crazy adventures where he was supposed to be our mentor, he was also not really present during those times. And we still went pretty well. So hopefully...
Artist is good at 2 things, pinching the bridge of his nose and dying.
There you go. And if he ever does those both at one time, he's succeeded in life.
The only time he's ever mentored us in anything is telling us what not to do.
And then we don't listen
He
to
cast
him.
haste on Sereneth during the Nesca fight, and
then
I
got
think
very-
that was extremely useful.
And then got very sassy with me because I wasn't able to do anything for that first... For the spell because I got, I think I got scared by Nesca or something.
The only reason that I think there might be one, because I agree, Artist is as, synonymous with swim as any one of you all are. But on the class selection schedule, see, I did also have access to the PDF that Luke sent out. And there is a mention that you do have to spend 5 hours helping your mentor do research.
Right.
Per, week?
For some reason, I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
I don't think it would be someone who's already mentoring. I don't think, for instance, Dessa would be happy with the fact that we would have to, work with her again, even though we were all going to the Plane of Isithil for our stuff.
What if they bring in somebody new? What if Crow specifically brings in somebody new so that their job is to just keep an eye on us and keep them
Our new
Osgood
mentor,
Parm.
Osgood Parm!
No!
I was about to
Get
say,
him outta
because
here.
I was about to say, because Osgood, I guess, is stationed at Troil to be the person there. We do have an assistant at Wildcliff who's assigned to Wildcliff, Kenneth Horse Wrangler.
Oh, God.
Would be our
Why do you
mentor.
want more Kenneth Horse Wrangler? Why on earth would you argue for more of
Because
him?
I want to keep fighting with him, and that's going to be fun.
I guess it's because he's funny to bully.
Yes.
Yeah, you did not fight with him, you steamrolled his ass.
technically, we can still help Artis even though he's far away. The kind of research that needs to be done for him, like we can do on our own. Clearly, we've done fine without like being directly told what to do. So maybe they're just like, we might hire like a new person, but these kids will like scare them off again.
Or
might
have
as well
them
like
dead.
Every
by the end of the
time,
week.
every time an adult comes near us at this school, something happens to them. They go missing, get turned into a pebble. Like, we have a track record.
When we
at this
get
point.
close to people, people die.
Exactly.
Is that not what integrity said?
People around
Yeah.
us.
That's right. But speaking of integrity, I wanted to ask you, Carla, something to start us off, because what I really liked were the little scenes that you all had training to get your feet, or like in some cases getting smacked in the face with a book to get a feat. I really liked the conversation that Integrity had with Artis, and I wanted to ask, how long has she been feeling like an outsider within the group?
I think that there has been a lot of fights that are quite crucial that Integrity felt useless. Well, not useless, but she just does not have as much of an impact as like the others have, especially because like we're fighting a lot of magical creatures and she's more of like a martial, like physical fighter. I mean, like being a warlock, that sort of helps curb that a little bit. But the first fight that I felt Integrity could have started feeling that way was with the Oblax.
Wow, that
Because
long.
that time, yeah, I recall playing and doing the fight there, and because like sneak attacks are the main recipe of rogues, and she could not do any of that because the Oblax can see everything. And she always like has like that problem. So I would say it's been that long since Integrity has felt like she's not carrying or helping as much when it comes to big battles.
And it's also interesting that you mention how like her being a warlock though is, lessening that to some degree, while it is still isolating her from the other three because of how it ties her to the progenitor. Even as she's attempting to like make more of a niche for herself, she ends up isolating herself more. I find that to be a really sad look at Integrity, especially with her sad dream that we saw in this little batch of episodes as well. I was just like, when we got there, I was like, damn, Integrity is very lonely, isn't she?
I didn't even think about that, but I guess when you play, you sort of get into the head of the character that you're playing and realizing what their most forefront thoughts are, and that was like the first thing that came to mind. So I guess you can say that isolation and loneliness is a big part of Integrity as of the moment, with like everything going on.
Totally understandable. Speaking of like the other orb bearer in y'all's vicinity, we did lose Artis. And here's the big question: is he going to come in at a crucial moment to save you all, or are you all going to have to go and find him to save him?
I think we're gonna have to find him. I mean, I know we're gonna do Desert Arc eventually. It would be fucking wild if fucking certified Dune superfan Luke didn't have us do an arc in the desert.
True. He's got
I
that
feel
whole ass
like
desert over there.
He's been
Mira's
waiting
gonna
to
get a
use
magic
it.
phone call from Artis who's like, I am dying, come to the desert and save my life, please. And we're gonna have to track him down and fix everything.
Seriously.
Artis just so happening to being like, yeah, here's who I'm staying with. Like, you all are my emergency contact, etc.
He has the sending stone.
Especially
Yeah, that's
right
true.
now, his main sources of like energy is Dune and Stormlight archives, which are very like deserty. So I would be surprised if we don't end up going to the desert eventually.
I think,
I
but I
hope.
do think Artis, because like we've saved him a couple of times now. I feel like at some point it's gonna have to come up that maybe we do at the beginning go to save him, then something happens, then he saves us, and it's like, wow, this is bonding time, I guess.
This whole journey has just been one long arc for Artis to go from like being the damsel to being the person to save you all.
would be nice.
That'd
We
be
can
fun.
dream,
Family road
but I'm
trip
not
time.
holding my breath for him. Yeah, we'll see.
I wonder if he'll try to save us, but then fail doing it.
Probably.
That sounds more like Artist. That's the Artist we know
That's
and
realistic.
love.
Yeah. Adding water to a fucking fire, like in a grease fire.
Oh my god, yeah, that's
just sad.
he's an elemental mage too. It's embarrassing.
Oh,
well,
no.
anyways, thankfully, out with the old, in with the new. We've got those new first year students. Who all were you the most excited to see?
Cormit.
Well, I mean, I wanted to see Whitney Tremors because she was my Patreon NPC. For people who don't know, which is everyone listening, basically, Whitney is a character from a different campaign that I was in. She was not my character, but she was my friend's character, and so we've had many conversations about how fun it would be if Mira and Whitney ever became friends, and I had to make it a reality.
Aww. I was really excited because like we already knew Yogg was going to be in the next year, so I was already like, I had my excitement and that has passed. Definitely seeing Cormit come in for his first year and like he's like so excited to like learn magic and stuff like that. Like, oh dang it, kid, you're gonna do
Him
great.
showing up to the wrong classroom was so good.
I don't think I had like really anything in mind. I didn't even think that Cormit was gonna be there. I just go into it like without any anticipation.
No expectations.
And then being surprised with what's happening. I just enjoy like having the first years and being able to having new people for Integrity to invite in her fan club.
Yeah, I was
She
about to
has to go
say,
with
yeah,
fan
these are
club,
all
yeah.
potential new fans.
More people to lose a race to.
Oh.
Stop it.
Ew. Damn. But speaking of new folks, there are also, correct me if I'm wrong, there are also like a lot of new golems arriving. Yeah, the
There
crow
are.
golems.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowlums.
The Crolums.
Yeah, hey, Ben, does Winsler feel any responsibility for those new golems that are arriving at Wildcliff?
Probably does. He's definitely looking at keeping an eye on them. I think at some point he wants to sort of interact with one of them just to see like how they act. Because sure,
Well-
they may have like the gemstone for their main head, neck area and stuff, but how much cognitive thinking and stuff did Crow provide them with?
Remove.
He's shoving
Yeah.
them all in the same closet, including with Yogg, which first of all, I'm not a fan of to begin with, so
I don't like that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm curious if like you all have just fallen from Crow's good graces, or if he is just that much of a like an ass to put Yogg with the golems all in one closet. Also, I think it's pretty fucked up that he's just putting them all in one closet. Anyways, Yogg, they should all have their own rooms. Yes.
yeah.
yeah, like
I was actually thinking about this because I was like, I want Yogg to like have a roommate because that would be cute. But I don't know if I can say this, but apparently there's like a special thing about that room. Because like that's always like where the other golems sleep, right?
it's like bigger on the
It
inside.
was
Well, if it's
originally,
like-
I think it was like originally a closet, but then they rebranded it to like a dorm, which I think was number 705, if I recall correctly.
Interesting.
So that's where all the golems are, but I don't know.
I don't remember.
Pause
if-
the recording, everyone. I have to go back and listen. Yeah, no, I'm
like
joking.
I don't remember specifically how Luke worded it, but I was under the impression that there were just a couple of these little closet spaces all around campus because it wouldn't be good production to have them all come from one spot to work across the entire campus, you know. I thought there was one in each building sort of thing.
True. However, if you're Crow, you don't see them as people. You see them as simply objects that go run on a schedule that you set to your desired effect. So clearly
Yeah.
you don't have to think about their well-being. You just have to think about, all right, this is where we're going to put them for now. Now go to work.
Well, these golems don't even seem to really have a personality, do they? Which is interesting because they lack the tier of an angel, right? Which I feel like creates some interesting questions about the ethics of that.
Well,
because if they're just like fucking Roombas, then it's, you know.
well, in Windsor's lecture, the tier of an angel was not like a requirement. He said that like magic, like sources of magic or like items would give the same desired effect. However,
They wouldn't have the same level of like
it
personality
would
and personhood,
probably
right?
vary depending on what's used. So I don't know how much personality these new golems actually have. Yeah.
I wonder if they have like specific tasks.
Well, there was the green one. The green one was sweeping up around the in the courtyard area, and I don't know. I don't know what the sapphire headed one was doing. That one was just kind of like being an attendant around us at the time in dining hall. So,
because maybe because the source of their abilities is not really strong as much of a tier of an angel is, they can only fixate one task at a time.
Maybe.
So they have to have these different distinguished positions and stuff like that.
Something that I had talked about in the episode where I gave Artis the necklace was here are the properties of an amethyst that can help the different effects an amethyst can have magically, kind of thing, in this world. So with each of them having the different stones and everything, maybe that kind of designates what they kind of do. Because I imagine the sapphire one was probably just kind of making sure kids weren't causing a ruckus in the dining hall.
Security golem.
Security
As a cop golem.
arms crossed, looking off into the void. You can't really, you wouldn't really tell where they're looking, but that.
Maybe.
I
I'd
follow
be
you,
so
but-
sad if no one gossips.
I know, literally, I was but you can't.
Yeah,
have
you
any
gotta
good
give up
gossip.
on that one.
That means when Angelica comes back, she's gonna be #1 gossip.
Well, I've got some good gossip for you.
Ooh.
Which
What's
is
that?
What is it?
new classes, new teachers.
Oh.
Yes, yes.
Oh boy.
I want to start off with, I'll go with the order of appearance. So, Ben, Sarah, I have 2 questions for you about demonology. Number one, what was your character expecting when they signed up for it? Why did they choose that class? And number 2, what were their first impressions?
So for Mira, she was offered the option of choosing between taking Demonology and Alchemy 2, Applications of Alchemy and Herbology. She liked Alchemy fine, it was okay, but Demonology just sounded more interesting. They had already encountered some things that came from other planes, and so it's something she felt she might have a leg up on, or if she doesn't, at least something that could be helpful. I don't think she expected to be shouted at by an insane goblin with chalk.
But she's here for it, though, right? How can you not be after that?
Oh, she thinks this is fucking hilarious. Get a fucking look at this, you know?
Yeah.
Incredible.
What about Winsler Wallaby?
So Winsler had the option between taking Zoology 3, Demonology, or Alchemy, Introductory Alchemy. And I'm pretty sure he thought Alchemy was boring as fuck, so he went with Demonology instead. Plus, he's already been in Zoology a couple of times, so it's also just familiar. This is just another branch of that.
And you all did kill a demon already. That is a thing that you all have done.
Yeah.
We did. We also don't know what classifies as a demon, really. We might need to look into that a little bit more.
You may even be able to find a source of help from demons. Who's to say?
Maybe.
I wonder which demon he was talking about, though.
I took it as the
thought it was
Pebble
gonna
Demon.
be the
Pebble
He was
demon?
referring to the
Yeah.
Pebble Demon.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Because
not
it was-
like
Loud.
the Pebble Demon in my head regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
love,
just in
I
the
love
win column
Horace.
now.
I imagine
think
if it
he's
was
a great
surrounding
professor.
loud, then he would have pulled bursting into the dining room and being like, "There's a demon on campus! Get out!"
God,
I don't think he's brave enough.
Damn,
I don't know. I love Horace Wishbone. What
I
a
love
good
him
name.
so much.
Such a
So
great.
It's
Very
so
sweet.
good.
Holy shit!
Indeed. But there is also another new NPC. I wanted to ask Carla and Sam, same question about dream-like realities. Why did you choose it, and what were your first impressions?
So for my class schedule, in this section, my options were dreamlike realities, and the other option was general magic course 1. I could choose a class from any of the 8 schools of magic, but I was kind of sticking with, what sorts of things would Sereneth enjoy learning about. And I feel like, especially with her issues with dreams recently, this would be something to take a look into. And I think quite genuinely, this was a very good show of your expectations of what a university course is going to be, what university is going to be like versus what it sometimes is like. The first year of introductions and stuff is here's all the classes, here's the assignments, and then you walk into one classroom and the teacher's there in their pajamas okay guys, I need to take a nap. So here's what we're going to do for our introduction class. Yeah, have fun. It's the person oh, please don't say Mrs. Whatever, that's my mom's name, you can call me this. One of those situations. I really enjoyed it though.
I feel you.
Integrity is living for sleep.
Ah!
She is going to add into her schedule. Like, for example, maybe the night before, she's like, I don't need to sleep. I will sleep in class later, you know?
Oh, that's
like,
so
this is like
bad,
her
no.
new nap time for that day. And
Could you imagine
reason why-
oversleeping and missing this class, though?
Oh my gosh. Why are you
Ironic.
late?
Well,
I was actually doing
I
some
did the classwork
extracurricular
anyways.
studying, and I'm so sorry I missed it.
you can't fail me. Sorry. I was just doing what you told me to do.
Yo, if we get a dream journal, I swear that'd be sick. Like, write down what you dream about. It'll have fun.
And this was like an easy choice for Integrity to make, because I must say that the other option that Integrity had for this time slot is ethics of manipulation. And she does
Oh, I
not need
took that class
ethics.
last year.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't need that shit. Fuck it.
Yeah, you don't need ethics, but look at this. You can just nap all the time.
course,
Mira
we
took
don't need
ethics, and it
ethics.
ended up with her reading her girlfriend's mind.
Exactly.
So,
No, that was an ethics of enchantment class. I'm pretty sure she used divination, so it's fine.
oh my fucking god.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry, Sarah.
Divination just
Fair
as
enough.
bad.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's spying, really. Anywho. But no, that's so interesting to hear. I love Integrity being like, I already have ethics. I don't need more ethics. I need more sleep. Which, you know, at a certain point, I feel like every college student has said that.
Yeah, and like if you think about it also, because it is an illusion class, it's very much Integrity to be able to, because she may have read what the explanations are, or maybe just read the name, but it might have something to do with manipulating people into thinking that they're in some sort of dream eventually. So Integrity might be into that.
Something.
You know?
Sorry, just to like.
Oh no, that's it.
Something I found really interesting was the fact that apparently Sarah Neptune meditating was actually able to, I guess, scry to Corinna without doing anything. Like, I don't know if that was with the necklace or if that was like her meditation has like led to that, where she's able to kind of on like a very base level be able to see Corinna, whereas when she was coincidentally also scrying back at me. Like, that was interesting.
That is interesting. And also like the name of it being dreamlike realities and not necessarily like just the study of dreams makes me wonder if it's also going to like have an influence on like that scene in the Loft of Elders where you were like getting that vision of the past. That was kind of a dreamlike reality. Or like maybe, I don't know. That's very broad, and I did not read any sort of like description of the class. I only know the name.
There isn't.
Oh, perfect. Well, in that case, I feel even more confident saying I'm interested in seeing the different ways the studies here can be shown in your like actual adventures day to day.
The real
I agree.
illusion is it acting as a class.
Maybe the real map we took was the friends we made along
I
the
mean,
way.
do you really think that Professor Periwinkle's class is real?
I think it's
Or is
more
it
real
fake?
than
I
that
I can't
one.
wait for the
I'll be
bunch of first
honest.
years to join your class. And then you have to like teach a class.
Oh my god.
Yeah, who do you think Cormit was trying to go see? He was looking for Very Periwinkle.
Oh, there
He's
you
in
go.
Evocation.
That's gonna be some weird shit when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that the tutor section of Wildcliff was just Very Periwinkle's like evening class?
I just had a weird moment of like, this is the School of Rock. You're Jack Black trying to teach a class, but you don't have a teaching license.
I don't think teachers at Wildcliff have licenses, I'll be honest.
I agree.
Speaking of people with like questionable credentials, I wanted to talk to you, Sam, about tell me, what does Saranep think of Kenneth Horse Wrangler after her confrontation with him? Like, how does that like change your opinion of someone who is just like such a sniveling wet tissue?
It definitely makes me feel like quite genuinely, I think Saranep's impression of him right now is, I don't understand how he has this job, because he can't handle when someone goes after him. He doesn't know anything that's going on with Crow. Like, he doesn't know, like, why our stuff would, like, he doesn't know these things. And, like, he should know that because he's, you know, the assistant to the headmaster, but he he just doesn't know that shit. It's like, okay, well, you're completely useless to me. Book me in for an appointment. Like,
it must be a very different world than what she's used to, because she's very much used to wealth. But this nouveau riche type of deal with Crow going on,
yeah.
she is having to deal with, oh, your butler is incompetent? This isn't like how things usually are back at home. Oh, but
Yeah, like usually like there's like people like have a schedule that they keep to like make sure you are on top of things, but he's just kind of sitting there on the steps outside of his office. He's not even there. Like he's just sitting there and doing nothing really. And I'm just like, I don't understand.
Do you think after that interaction with Kenneth, do you think she has higher hopes for how things are going to go with Crow himself during their appointment?
They've been able to have conversations in the past. The couple of times that they've talked to each other, they've been able to have conversations. So I'm hoping that like in the meeting tomorrow, it would be like at least trying to understand from his point of view why that stuff has not been returned to us, and trying to ensure what can I do to have those things returned to us. It's going to be like a straight business talk.
I'm excited to see how it goes. But speaking of straight business talks, or the lack thereof, Sarah,
Hi.
I had a question about Mira and Delnus.
Oh boy, ask away.
Yeah, how is Mira going to regain Delnus's trust at this point?
That's a very good question, because I do think it's very funny that Delnus basically said to Mira, like, hey, I have a thing of like running away when, you know, problems get difficult and I don't really want to talk about them or acknowledge them. I'm going to work on that. And then Mira's like, I read your mind, and Delnus just fucking dips. So I don't know if Mira sees it as, you know, she should give Delnus space right now, or if doing that will just make the ball permanently in Delnus's court. I think at a certain point she'll have to like come after her, find her, be like, hey, give her a proper apology, basically. And I think after that, it's largely up to what Delnus wants to do. She might not want to be with Mira after this. She might. We'll have to see what happens.
Has Mira's desire to be with Delnus shaken at all?
Well, I think it was less, oh, Delnus has done something that makes me not want to be around her, and more this sort of guilt of like, I spent, 3 weeks, some of which were trapped on the moon, wondering if the two of us were okay, wondering if what was going on, and I was thinking the worst, and I want to know what's on her mind. And then I come back, and she was totally open, communicating with me. She got me a nice gift. So I think it's more just Mira feeling bad that she didn't have as much faith in Delnus as she should have.
I would just like to comment that I'm loving watching this slow burn of them potentially, like, there's just like something about it, like the tension keeps on building.
It
The
does.
world keeps on going against the two of them being together, and who knows if they're gonna end up together like for the long run, or if they're gonna break apart. And I like that tension building between the two of them, and it's like, will they make it, will they not? And I really like that about Mira and Delnus's relationship, where it's not stable. That's like what normal life is. Relationships are not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So how will that end up?
Totally.
Because this is the only real relationship that we see in the show, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, until Integrity gets Murandine his snacks, yes.
There you go. That's going to be the next romance.
Which she did this episode at a 50% discount.
Yeah,
That's
what's
what
up?
There you go.
Integrity was
Yeah.
doing, right? When she got
Yeah.
those snacks.
is it do I meet the requirements though? If I got like a discount for $10, I paid $10 for this thing.
Uh-huh.
Am I still meeting the requirements of the bet?
Just
Should
don't
I
tell
get
him.
additional?
Don't tell him about the discount
Here's-
you got.
Here's the thing. Even if you pay for something at a discount, the amount of stuff you have is still like, it's still the amount worth what it normally is.
Exactly.
You just paid it at a
Actually-
reduced rate.
Hear me out. So the bet happened last term before the price hike on the candy. So is he looking for an abundance is he looking for the abundance of candy that would be worth 20 gold from last year? Or is he looking for, or like, is he okay with what has happened, like with the inflation of candy in the store, and you've now like cut his amount. It cuts his amount in half.
I don't think Marundine thinks that much.
There we
True.
go. That's the real
But
answer.
I do.
You know what I think about a lot?
What?
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 The election. Politics.
Oh, this is
Love
where the
the
real
election.
spice
I'm
is.
excited.
Yeah, I've been saving the best part for the last, just like in the actual batch of the episodes. We have a full-on school-wide election going on now.
Yeah, we do.
I'm so
Oh,
excited.
Everyone gets a vote.
And surprisingly, Mira has actual competition. I thought just against Bailey Blue, it would be a fucking slam
Same.
dunk.
I did not expect Syndra to run against her, but I am so excited for this. I was saying to Luke that I almost hope Syndra sort of plays the Joan-like role in this arc of not being a villain, but being like the person to beat in all of this. I just think that's a very fun time, and I'm so excited for the political campaigning, the drama of it all. I've typed up that the other players know a whole document with like what Mira's election platform is going to be, what needs to happen next.
I saw you post that, but I was actually going to ask you to like give an excerpt from it. I haven't actually read anything.
It's a
from
whole
it
ass
before.
fucking page.
It's a whole thing.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we have four pillars. We've got the social events, we have more educational resources for students, we've got better campus security, and we've got transparency. What do you want to hear more about? What do you want to learn about?
What are you gonna do for the golems?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, let's talk about campus security for a moment, right? So as Sarah, Mira wants to propose something that makes it less likely for other students to be able to stumble upon Shiora stuff, while at the same time not trying to impose anything that will prevent their ability to do it. So what she's come up with is the following. After the unfortunate string of students going missing last year, we need to keep Wildcliff a safer school for everyone. We may not know exactly what led to these disappearances, but until we figure that out, students should not be left alone and vulnerable on campus if they don't feel comfortable protecting themselves. For students going out at night, I plan on working with Headmaster Crow to propose an optional golem buddy system so that any student who feels in danger can ask one of our new golems to accompany them to and from their dorms. It's voluntary, but it's a great way of like, people are not going to stumble upon the sewers, you know what I mean?
Why do I feel like this might suddenly backfire?
Oh,
No,
I
this is-
count on it.
Yeah.
It's the perfect thing that you want to introduce as a big character thing, is a great solution for a problem that like makes sense for the character, but also like you're definitely giving the DM lots of room to work with in order to complicate this thing that you're doing.
I have a feeling like Syndra might have some opposition against
yeah.
that.
I can't imagine why.
I'm a bit excited.
Gosh.
Yes.
Mira's going to fucking burn it all down just to win. I can't wait to see like the tear-filled conversations between First Lady Delnus and President Mira.
Wow.
Gosh. I'm just happy that Mira's finally said fuck at Bailey.
Oh yeah.
She's been building up to it.
Oh.
No more
It was-
pretenses.
Mwah. I
This
cannot
just
wait.
got personal.
Oh,
Do
it's
any of
been
your
personal.
characters have any like investment in helping Mira win, or is it like you're just sitting back to see what everything goes down?
We're a team.
Yeah,
Hell
we are.
yeah.
Let's go.
Ride or die.
I'm gonna help you like win the love of the entire school.
I mean, I
Plus,
can
like,
Your
couple
campaign?
words, but-
Integrity.
Got it.
You know, you're trying to be the next Joan. You're modeling yourself after her style. This makes you, visible, cool. You're a member of like this team. You're like the press secretary, whatever it is. And that's a great way to like make sure that you're being showcased to the school too.
Mira Marchand
It would be.
officially endorsed by
Exactly.
Very Periwinkle.
Hell yeah.
I love Very Periwinkle using his like teacher powers to influence an election rather than influencing anything for the golems at large.
Do you
like,
think
Oh my
technically that would be 2 votes for the same person? 'Cause-
Oh.
You got Isold's vote too.
True, that's technically 4.
Oh my god, I forgot about
you
that.
I cannot believe you're openly admitting to discussing voter fraud on a live recording.
Listen,
This
if
is-
it was to
Endorsement
dunk
fraud
Bailey,
is
anything is
voter
fair
fraud.
game.
I just had a thought. Because Very Periwinkle is a professor of Wildcliff, would have authority, like you got that big giant thing of keys and everything. And what if somehow we can convince Crow or whoever to make Very Periwinkle our new mentor?
That's
That would
Oh,
be
that's really smart.
that would be very strange.
It would.
Well, are mentors professors? Because
They're
if
usually
so, then
independent researchers,
Yeah.
but we can make some exceptions.
yeah,
We can
because
make some
our actual mentor is literally not here right now, so they have to get a substitute in there.
And I mean, in that case, why would you go for Very Periwinkle when you could just get Horace Wishbone as your new mentor?
Oh,
He would be pretty
True.
incredible.
That's true.
Right? Your 5 required hours of study are going to be killing demons. That rules.
Listen, I
That's
wonder what's
really
behind that
badass.
that 3 foot thick metal door that he's got there.
Well,
Do you
speaking
think there's
of,
a demon locked in there?
Probably.
perhaps.
He wants to summon
At the
a
end of
demon
the
at
year,
end.
you must fight him. Yeah, the door to hell.
Well, I am quite excited for those new developments, but of course, there is one last thing that we need to do before we wrap up, which is we got some new NPCs in.
Oh boy.
2 in particular, Professor Horace Wishbone and Professor Cagner, the 2 new professors for demonology and dreamlike realities. These are your options. You just have to find a good match for either one of them. And the
Found
rest
one.
of you all will vote on it for battleships.
All right, so Horace Wishbone, doesn't like demons, doesn't like the evil in the world, generally believes that these things would be better, solved, dealt with, trying to just reduce the amount of bad out there. He also has an insane screechy voice. Who does this pair him perfectly with? That's right, it's the keeper of the list of warlocks, Keepsy.
Oh my
Fucking screaming ass
god.
guy. Their entire thing is like, let's make sure that warlocks are not evil, not making pacts with demons that are going to put them in a difficult place. Especially given all the power that Keepsy now has to maintain and enact that. I think that Mr. Horace Wishbone would be very, very happy to be with someone with that kind of influence. And imagine what their first date conversation would be like. Imagine them just fucking screaming at each other. I want to see this. I think that would be a fantastic thing to behold. That's why I'm proposing Horace Wishbone x Keepsy today.
All right. I'm here for it. Anyone else?
I think, and this isn't because I was the one who told Kenneth to, go to the specific room in this place because it'll let you sleep there for fun. But imagine if he goes there for the first time to, get some relaxation in on his day and meets the most chilled out professor in this entire friggin' school. Oh no, I forgot. Professor Cagner?
Yes.
Yeah. Professor Cagner. Kenneth Horse Wrangler and Professor Cagner. The dude is stressed. He is tired all the time. From what we know about the professor, very relaxed and calm. I think they would balance each other out. Maybe Kenneth would rub off some energy on her. She can help calm him the hell down for 5 minutes. I think that's I think they would make one whole person.
Excellent. All right, so Professor Cagner and Kenneth Horse Wrangler. I like that. Ben, Carla?
Professor Cagner and Indumati.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Because I feel like Indumati is a very busy woman. She has her own sort of set schedule. She does what she needs to do. Professor Cagner, that calm and relaxing aura that they just radiate off would be perfect to help keep Indumati calm and focused. No interruptions, can do what she needs to do to get through the day. And then, all they have to do is just vibe together and just chill and hang. Nothing more to
Hell
it.
yeah. Nothing better than, for a relationship than a chill hang. I've always said this.
Well, 2 of the points that have been made here is opposites attract. But I would think that maybe perhaps some people just they want rest. They already know that rest is super important. They know how to relax, but they're just lonely. Very, very lonely. They're 30 years old and alone, drinking wine. So I would want Professor Cagner to be with Ava Redding. I think that the company would be quite nice. Ava Redding is stressed out at work, but she knows how to unwind. She knows how to relax. But sometimes you just want someone to lay in bed with you at night. And I think that Professor Cagner can be that for Ava Redding. So I think that they are the OTP. Thank you very much.
Oh.
I really like that. They do seem like they would be a very fun couple to come and over and visit. All right, well, I will go over all of our options for the listeners one more time. We have Sarah, the only person to choose Horace Wishbone, saying that he would be a great fit for Keepsy, the keeper of the list of warlocks. The combo of their knowledge together could greatly benefit the world. Then we have Sam offering Professor Cagner and Kenneth Horse Wrangler, hopefully getting Kenneth some rest that he so desperately needs. Ben, with a similar suggestion, Professor Cagner and Indumati, who is also just worked to the fucking bone. And, just needs to be taken care of a little bit. Needs to take care of herself. Carla, we also have Professor Cagner with Ava Redding, just because they look like one big chill hang. So, if you all could, go ahead and send me in your choices, and I will read off our result, the winner, shortly hereafter. Jesus, I really had to make that as wordy as possible.
Well, I almost messaged Ben about it.
Insider information.
All right. Well, congratulations to the happily, the newly together happy couple of Professor Cagner and Indumati. Ben, you have won this round of battleships. Congratulations.
Wow.
I'm quite proud of you. What are you going to do with your new point?
Gloat, I guess.
Hell yeah. Great choice.
We're looking back at the scoreboard for the first time in ages, and we have Sarah still at the top with number 1, but now we have our number 2 spot tied with Ben at 6 and Carla at 6, and Sam just a little bit behind with 3. I hope that you all have enjoyed this fun little episode of Conversations and Catapults. I know I sure did. And please come with us as we take a little break, and I go to slide into the DMs with Luke.
Oh,
Transition.
That's the sound
Goodbye.
of me sliding. Welcome back to Sliding Into the DMs. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I am joined by Swim's new mentor, Luke.
Howdy, it's me, Luke, coming at you live from the studio. I'm the new mentor. No, it has to stay in. Well, the audience they're keen with it. They're hip with it. They'll pick up on the joke.
That's fair. We had a whole joke before I began the intro.
It's great to be here, though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, and also, everyone's hungry for it. I might as well just jump right into it. Let's go ahead and talk about those first 2 episodes where you got to say goodbye to Artis.
Yeah.
He's gone from the one who is left behind to the one who leaves others behind.
Yeah.
Was that intentional on your part?
I really like that. When we revived Artis, brought him back from Pebbled, and made him a new body and all that stuff, I was like, this is a new start for this dude, and we can pivot on his character a bit, right? We can go from him being like this, and I mean, like, he kind of mentions these kind of things where he's like, I didn't do anything for the past 60 years. I sat in my room. That was all like subtext. You're supposed to have picked up that the reason nothing has happened in this mystery for the last 60 years is because Artis has been sitting on standby mode for that entire time. He hasn't processed his grief. He hasn't dealt with things. He's been taking it one day at a time and not looking past the next day, right? You could call this depressed, but, we don't want to get into that shit. He's been on standby mode.
I was gonna say, damn, this sounds a lot like me when I'm depressed.
Oh, so Artis was based on me, and...
Oh my god.
So anyways, when he gets revived, it's this fun... It's not fun. It's a fun thing. We can see a man... Forgive me for this, but a man electrified, right? And
Fuck off.
has a spark to him, right?
Jesus Christ.
And so him going out into the world and actually becoming the active participant in his own life, in this mystery, in the disappearance of his dearly beloved wife, right? His partner. And actively, obviously he searched for her previously, but came up nothing. But the search is now continuing at the cost of the rest of his life. Like, this is the biggest priority going forward forever now, unless something like happens to Swim, who are very dear to him. But he has gone to this desert to finish his unresolved business, right? Like, if he was a ghost, this is how he would pass on to the next life.
Jesus. Yeah, if he was like inhabiting a dead body or something, I don't know, ghost light.
So him leaving, him being the one who leaves people behind, him being the one to go undo that kind of being the left behind ism, right? To find out what happened. Why did this come to be? Why did this die get cast in this way? Why has my life been the way it has been for the past 6 decades? Going out into the desert is one way to solve that, and it's a fun, active way. It also gets him out of this way of our characters, who are now second years. And
Yeah.
the entire first year, Nathan, you're keen on this. You're a big believer in artists should not be around. He's...
You know what? I'm excited because if he comes back, it'll be for a really good reason.
Exactly, right? I can get him out of here, which means the students will be, for a certain point, more independent. They obviously still have means to contact him, but I will not let them use that as any get out of jail free artist card, right? Artist, solve the problem for us, right? Because
Artist, can you come pick us up? There's a pebble demon who's really scary.
Because having just in general, the idea of having more power, we already know Artist isn't more powerful than Swim, but in D&D at large, the idea of having more powerful NPCs around, why are they solving the problems? Why does the party have to be solving the problems? And it should be for the reason that they have their own pressing issues that they are solving. So Artists are quote-unquote higher-level PC or NPC is now off solving his own business and is unavailable to the party to help them, right? And that's a more elegant solution than I've ever had, right? He gets captured, he gets his fingers cut off. Oh, now he's, what? I don't even fucking know what he's doing. He's drunk in a party. Who gives a shit, right? It's always an excuse to get Artists out of the scene, right? And
I never put that together, actually. I always kept on thinking, damn, Artist doesn't do anything. And it's like, well, of course.
Yeah.
We can't let him do anything.
Exactly.
It would be wrong.
Even in combat, I never wanted him to take an active role in doing damage, so he's the haste machine, right?
Hey, that is the best move for a wizard NPC. Like, you gotta be the haste machine.
Yeah.
And you just dodge every turn.
Yeah.
That's it.
And now, as well, since Artist is gone, and we should be, for all intents and purposes, getting a kind of in-between, a step supervisor, a step mentor.
I was gonna ask if you already had, an idea of who that is gonna be.
I have an idea of who it will be, but I'm mulling it over, which is why it has not yet come up in the show. The Artist says in character, listener, dear listener, sometimes you can glean deeper meanings from the things I say. Most of the time you can. When Artist said, they were very vague about it. That's because in my brain, I was very uncertain about what I wanted to do, right? So the information that I had to provide was, I don't know, but the way I phrased it was they were vague, right? Putting the onus on the institution of Wildcliff, right? It creates this illusion that the world thinks and not me, right?
Very smart.
Yeah.
Also much better than an NPC just going,
I
I
don't
don't know.
fucking know. Some NPCs, I think they could get away with it. Artists, not so much.
Yeah. No, Artist would ask. Artist would be like, well, who am I leaving my children with? But
I have two perspective ideas. One would put them. I mean, we can say it. I think it's the obvious choice would be Dessa, right?
right.
That would put them into greater friction with the Mirundine and Karina, which would be a beautiful moment right now since Karina already has such a heated relationship now with generally Swim at large. Winslow hasn't done anything, but Karina would fucking glare at him if he walked in, right?
Yeah, he's fucking guilty by association.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some people
right?
where I hate someone so much where if you choose to fuck with them, I also hate you too because that says a lot about you.
I think that Karina being angry at people and being angry and passionately angry at them is a great historic marker for how arcs should proceed. This, I think, has happened twice before where she gets really mad at someone at the start of an arc, and it doesn't really matter. I think she yelled at Winslow once trying to find her sister, and then she yelled at Ira, which caused the entire fiasco in Trading Places, right? But I enjoy Karina as just being over the top, angry constantly. She's a stressed out young lady. And her sister's missing.
She's got a lot going on.
She's scrying her sister, and she's missing, right? Take on to that whatever you want it to mean. But so by pairing Swim with Dessa, we would get more friction with these characters who we like, as well as Ira, who holds plot hooks and some juicy mom issues.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
love the Alaro family
Absolutely, right?
for sure. That is an interesting choice. What's the second option?
I won't divulge that.
Understandable.
That is an unknown in this little cake recipe. I won't use baking ever as an analogy. I take that back. That is an unknown in this plot.
God. Okay, fair enough.
I will not have
Taking a really
anyone. I
grumpy
will not
face
have
at me.
anyone talking to me about cookies and cake recipes ever again
my
after
God,
the
I forgot.
smush.
I didn't even put that together. I forgot about the cookie analogy or metaphor.
The audience didn't. The audience didn't.
You know how I feel about the audience. Now, here's one more question
Yeah.
about artists specifically, and then I want to talk about the other developments that we've had.
Absolutely.
Do you already know what's going to happen to him during his expedition?
I have very good ideas of what's going to happen to him. We did a shitty skill challenge in 186, a research skill challenge that I think was a bit long in the tooth. It lasted a bit too long, aka 1 round too long, but I wanted to get them information so that they could try to make they and artists can make an educated decision of what artist should do with his expedition. Should he proceed with his already carefully planned out expedition, or knowing now that giants hold lots of secrets, should he venture off in search of this information that they could have possibly found very, very detailed stuff on? And they chose artists, just go and do the thing you are already planning on doing. That means, that decision is minor in the grand scheme of things. That's not a lot of agency for characters, but it has an impact on because in my brain I'm oh, there's a bunch of things that could happen, and let's separate those out into 2 possibilities, 2 families of events that will occur. And so artist going on his planned expedition opens up, I already know a lot of things that could happen to him. The dramatic ones have yet to really reveal themselves, and those are the ones that I think should be happening, right? The most interesting stuff.
Do you, for NPCs who are off screen pursuing those goals, do you ever roll dice for them to decide what would happen? Or is it more about what is going on in the plot right now?
Sometimes I do roll dice. I'll commonly actually flip coins, because most of the time when I'm really, really uncertain, it's because I have 2 good ideas and I cannot decide between them. So I'll flip a coin. This happened a long time ago, and it's not a big stakes moment, but I was should these crystals from Crow that I've already noted are of dubious quality, should they work to animate Ida? And I flipped a coin right before we played the session. I was no, they don't. It's going to fizzle, right? Because I was it could work, and that could just be Ida, or it could not work, and illustrate further about the quality of Crow mercantile products, which is something I want to reinforce over the course of the campaign.
Yeah, they're top quality, and Ida sucks. That was the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will likely be flipping coins to determine what is going to be happening to artists. And in the course of large-scale things, I think a dramatic conclusion to something, I will definitely have the players roll for it, because that's more fun for me. To
It is more fun.
improvise as they tell me it's just so good. It's great.
It is so good. I'm excited to see how that develops, or if this is the last we see of artists, you know what? I'm excited to see how that changes things for Swim.
Yeah. I mean, it would be fun if the people who are left behind also are left behind by a person who just vanishes without a trace, right?
Right? The cycle continues.
Yeah. And then in searching for artists themselves, they discover what happened to
They
him.
abandoned Cormit and Yogg.
They abandoned Cormit and Yogg. Who the fuck could possibly do that, though? These 2 are cute as a button.
They've already abandoned Cormit once.
Oh.
Speaking of the new school year and
Yes.
everything, that new class coming in, we also get we get some new golems.
We do.
Uh,
Oh my god.
introduced.
Nathan, the fact that you're talking about this brings me so much fucking joy. None of the
Are you
players
kidding?
have mentioned it, and I'm losing my mind a little bit.
I have so many ideas on what could be different about them, because here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right. And sorry, to the listeners who are now tuning in to Nathan's tinfoil. of the hour.
This is what the podcast is for. That's what the podcast is.
Fair enough. All right. So, Tear of an Angel,
Yep.
obviously a celestial,
Yep.
divine, you might say, origin, right? We learn, there are 3 different paths of magic,
Yes.
which are divine, arcane,
Yes.
and natural.
I need to interrupt you. I need to interrupt you because okay, this is heavy Dungeons and Dragons talk, so sorry for the people who don't give a shit
go
about Dungeons
ahead,
and Dragons.
because they did rip you off.
Fucking rules for like the new, like the fucking patch notes of D&D just came out. Like, and they're like, oh, the 2024 Player's Handbook will have these and their perspective rules. If you don't know this, go to D&D Beyond, check out the new rules, play with them, play around with them.
D&D.
One D&D, and that is fun. Anyways, and they were like, okay, we're gonna reclassify all of magic into 3 different types of magic. Arcane magic. And I was like, yeah. Divine magic. Yeah. Primal magic. And I was like, why the fuck did I call it natural magic? Why am I so fucking smooth-brained that I couldn't do natural magic? Also, the fact that dungeons, I was like, wow, my cool original system of magic and where magic comes from. And then D&D said, let's make it canon. That's canon now. Cool. And I'm like, cool. So I'm running the most vanilla fucking campaign ever. Anyways.
Whatever you do, don't look at how spells are divided in Pathfinder.
Anyways, continue with your golem talk.
But all of this is saying, so the Tear of an Angel,
Yeah.
to me, that reads as
Divine.
celestial/divine origin.
Yes.
These golems, obviously, no access to a Tear of an Angel, right? But you know what Crow has a fucking lot of? Arcane foci. Or, like, different spell components for arcane magic. And so I'm interested to see how, like, that difference between divinity and arcane is, like, shown through these beings who literally, like, the seed of their creation is defined by these 3 different types of magic.
Like the little, okay, that's a bit nerdy. The condensation nuclei, which is something that snow forms around, and like the crystal of like ice forms around this thing. It's gonna, if you have a different thing, it'll form differently, right? And so if we can use Yogg as an example, because they're like the most unrefined one, like Golem, who has still a Tear of an Angel. They didn't get it polished properly, and the oath kind of didn't go super great. And now they are like learning every bit of magic they possibly can. They're developing at a rapid pace. And versus the other Clockwork Golems, the ones with little like sapphires or emeralds or whatever in their heads or on their necks. And I want to be clear about that, Nathan. Like for Yogg and the other like Ari and Toll, it's like a massive crystal that sits atop their head. This is literally like a gem that you would put on like a necklace. Like it's a tiny little fucking thing, right? Just like sitting on top of like where your like skull would sit. So there's like a little metallic vertebrae just sticking up with a little gem on top, which is like,
that's so weird and
it's
fucked.
so much creepier in my opinion, because it's like it looks like just a bunch of headless humanoids walking around campus, lumbering around, but like
way harder to distinguish, which I don't know is a bug or a feature for Crow.
Nonetheless, I'm very excited to play around with these, and that is, I don't know, having them around is definitely like, like it's such a intentional difference from what I wanted from like the first years, where we immediately like, oh wow, they're crystalline and they have personalities and stuff. Let's see how these ones change over the course of the year, right?
Yeah, thank you for giving me that that difference, because I was picturing like big old gym heads.
Yes.
And so like now that I know, like, oh no, it's like a little like real size gym here. That's perfect. Any other like fun ways that they're different that you want to like tease to the audience, or no?
None of them wear the robe of stars, which the other Clockworks did. These ones have like pastel blue and pastel green. I'll tell you, there's a pastel red and another pastel color that's on campus. You can associate pastel blues, the blue of students, pastel reds, the red of like the professors. What the fuck is green for? What the fuck is the other one that's there for? It's just like they're there for us. Each one of a different gem color is there for a very specific purpose.
Which is so different than Ari and Toll and Yogg,
yes.
who are just like can do anything.
I wrote them originally, Ari and Toll, since both of them are now deceased.
Rip Ari. Yeah.
Ari. So
Dissected golem.
What happened was the urchin in the under campus, Vana, was brought to Swim, and Swim sent her to like be on campus and be safe. Ari went to try to find some sort of haven for her and was intercepted and brought to Troil for dissection, right? Straight up fucking murdered, pulled apart, looked at the pieces, and built the new golems from like that kind of like that and Kurt's teachings, right?
Yeah.
So the original purpose of those two were custodians of Wildcliff, both in the sense of like cleaning up, which we often saw them do, but also in safeguarding it, right? Keeping it safe and sound, which is why in Food for Thought, we do not see a professor descending down into the sewers to help with the Oblex or even fix anything up. We see Toll coming because there is something amiss about the school, right? The same way there is just this golem which sits well within the belly of the beast that has like almost this like massive proportion to it. Like, why do you need a golem that big unless it's going to do something very violent, I would say, right?
Right.
So the new golems likely do not fit that all well-rounded custodial role, right?
I'm so excited to see more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot. Like, that's a big change that Crow has brought to Wildcliff. It's easy for us on the outside as, like, the audience who know Crow is terrible. Like, we know bad guy.
Yes.
Rough little lad. However, like, I'm interested, what are the popular changes, or are there any at Wildcliff? Like, are there some students who are like, man, I'm glad Crow is here because now the food in the dining hall is way better?
Yes.
Or is there anything like that at all? Is he just make things 10 times worse?
So, food will be better. A lot of the food was already supplied by Crow Mercantile, and the real reason, I can say here in the tell-all CNC, the real reason food quality dipped during Autumn's End was because he was diverting most of the good food for the nobility that was on campus.
Oh, interesting.
That was never really brought up or discussed because Serenep never went and hung out with the nobility that much. But that's what the real intent of making the common pauper food shitty was, because of the good food. Like, we hint at this when Integrity's like, hey, can I get some lemons? And he's like, do you want the nice lemons or do you want the shitty lemons? And Integrity's like, give me the shitty ones. It doesn't matter. The nice ones are for the rich people and not the bad poors.
Who can do the whole, like, it's a lemon, how much can it cost?
Exactly.
Like 10 gold.
So, the food quality will be improved. The just general funding of most departments has gone up. We see this.
Oh, I bet professors are very happy.
Yes,
huh?
Professor Doss, when Integrity Idleberry wanted a spell of Conjure Memory, Professor Doss was like, listen, there's not funds in the Department of Conjuration to help you with that, so you're going to have to pony up that cash. That's not really an issue now, which means for Winslow Wallaby and
Oh my
Ben,
god.
you're listening
you
to
mean
this.
very Periwinkle.
Very Periwinkle, of course. Readily accessible, higher level magical reagents for the players, right? So, in the event that they have a really expensive reagent, they can go to their respective department and ask for it, or just grab it from the closet, and it will be there. It's not just going to be the pickled fingers anymore. There will also be platinum inlaid jars sitting around, or like diamonds if you so need them. You won't have to steal them anymore.
That's a really fun way of both addressing the mechanical thing of, like, as you level up in D&D, like, spell components get more expensive, and we have to, like, figure out how do these students who don't have jobs getting these, like, magical reagents fucking really smart to use one of them pretending to be a teacher as a way of, like, getting them those things.
Yes. Oh, that scene was... Sometimes I really enjoy waterfalling or, like, overwhelming, like, not letting my players get a word in edgewise, just because for Ben, I know he was going to confess to the crime and be like, no, I lied. But I didn't let him speak. I just kept piling on the things, and then at a certain point he was like, I have no choice. I have no choice but to continue with this, right? And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted him to have to be forced, his hand forced. Even when I was like, how much money did you write for the stipend? He was like, 200 gold. And he was like, that's for the whole semester. I was like, no, that's per week. But you're not allowed to change that now. You're just going to get 200 gold every single fucking week, right?
God.
And no one's going to blink twice at that because Crow is bankrolling so much of the school now, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully...
Gotta spend money to make money.
Absolutely. Hopefully he'll be getting a return on his investment. On another note, just
go
back
ahead.
to golems a bit.
Please do.
There's likely, we never got to see Troil after the students went to the moon, unfortunately. I rolled my eyes on it.
But there's likely a golem
There's
workforce
likely
there, right?
golems there now doing Troil-specific things, right? There's a shoe which will drop in probably the next episode, or the episode where we speak to Crow as a group about the state of Troil, which I'm very excited for. Just close up a little loose end. But as a passive state of the world is golems are likely in the Crow catalog now, right? You can probably
that's
just
so dire.
buy them, which, you know.
I mean, yeah, fucking hell. Ugh.
Yeah. Grizzly.
Bad time. And you know who may order off of those catalogs? As I try to transition to the next question, like, feeling just so sad.
I hope to make Crow a much more apparent to swim bad guy very soon, very imminently.
That's good.
I'm so excited to exchange information with them very shortly. It's going to be delightful for me.
It's going to be great. Now, I was curious, however, about not just the headmaster, but of course, we were introduced to 2 new professors. And like, fucking Cagner and Wishbone.
Yeah.
Private Eyes. This is just a brief question. Do you
Yeah.
have any inspirations behind either of them? I know that like you often have like real life inspirations behind like either students or professors, so I was just curious.
Wishbone was based off of... So I don't know if this is a thing that happens to you, Nathan, where you hear something and you don't... Like, you have a general idea. Like, for example, you might hear of... What's a good, like, a pop culture? Like, it's as if me thinking about Columbo, right? I have a general understanding of what Columbo is, but I've never watched any Columbo, and I don't know the mannerisms perfectly, but in my head, there's an impression of Columbo that exists. There's a type of character, which is the monster hunter, like old monster hunter, who is like the wealth of knowledge for now, the new generation of monster hunters. I've never...
The Mad-Eye Moody.
The Mad-Eye Moody, the whatever in Buffy.
Not to reference a bad
Nathan, in recording, I was like, this is far too Mad-Eye Moody for my taste, and I actually despise it. So if you think it was like Mad-Eye Moody, you're like me, but fucking go clean your brain out for a second. But like,
yeah,
I've
read
never
something
watched...
new, Nathan.
I've never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I imagine there's a character like this in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? I don't know if that's true, but I have to hope.
Not really. Everyone from the old generation is like very like proper and proud. Like,
okay, so I was way off. I had an impression and it was wrong.
Ask Sarah, because Sarah is like has like an encyclopedic knowledge of Buffy, whereas I just like saw the episodes. She was like, "We're gonna watch it all except for the bad episodes." And I said, "Fine."
Well, those are the episodes where Horace Wishbone shows up.
God, I love Horace Wishbone.
So he's based off my impression of what a grizzled old monster hunter who is not long for this world because he engages in such wild things as saying, we're going to summon a fucking demon in this class. We're going to make a deal with it. And then we will, as a class, murder it and send it back to the abyss and annul our contract, right? And so, like, that's a fucking lunatic of a professor. And I think I've talked about how much I hate...
He's got so much funding now,
much funding. He has so much fun. Imagine the quality of the chalk magical summoning circles. Imagine how good of a demon we're gonna get, right? But, like...
It's gonna be so good.
This idea that this unhinged... Like, I've talked about, like, not liking how mundane a lot of Wildcliff was previously. So I intentionally made it, like... We have, like, these elements of, like, oh my god, it's a regular class day. Wow. And it, by the way, I've never been able to time anything properly seasonally ever. I've never hit a Valentine's thing. We've never hit, like, a winter holiday thing. We've never done anything. We hit start of the school year smack dab, baby. It's not spring, but boy howdy, we hit like the September-ish start. And so we have this like slice of lifestyle feeling and like it's all happy goosey, and then we just drop into fucking demonology class. This is like where I want our general level of levity to live at, right?
I was also gonna ask about like, I was just curious because I didn't know if it was a like back to school thing or if this is going to be like a more consistent thing of showing them in the classrooms because these new like classroom dynamics just with Cagner and Wishbone alone allow for it to be a very different vibe than just like sitting at a desk and taking notes.
Absolutely.
You get to be a bit more active within the actual like lesson.
So by having this is a thing I experienced in university. As I got into smaller and smaller classes, I personally felt as though I became a larger portion of the general ecosystem of the classroom, right? And that's a weird feeling, right? When you're, and some people in like higher learning situations may not experience that because they go to very large schools. But Wildcliff is by design very intimate, right? For example, Winslow Wallaby in his conjuration classes, he likely is the only person in his classes, right? So that essentially becomes your very storybook wizard and apprentice, right? Which is
Yeah. Love
that's
that.
the intent of why the class sizes right now are so small, was because I really liked that idea of like the upper year students are students in the sense that a professor might have 8 different pupils, right? But in their class time, they are the wizard's apprentice, and that is their role as a student. And I really like that as a feeling. And so them enrolling in a demonology course and having like this professor be like, we are equals here, right? And we together are going to do this. That's a very interesting dynamic. It opens a can of worms. Sarah, I think, smelt this a mile away. And hopefully, Ben, when I put demonology on their list of options, I hope everyone saw that and went, that's plot hooks galore, right? And it's just like, it's good soup, Nathan. It's good soup.
It's a great little soup. And Dreamlike Realities is also a good one of those for plot hooks galore because we've already had so many times that we were in a dreamlike reality.
I think that I'm a slut for dreams as a method of conveying shit to players. I really like it. Prophecy is a bit shitty, right? Especially in a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and saying, you are prophesized to do this. It's just me as the dungeon master saying, I want you to do this fucking thing, right? Unless it's like
and even then, the dice have a say.
Absolutely,
the prophecy,
right? So, but with dreams, I get to have this very fun mingling where the players don't feel like they're ruining things when I ask them, what's happening in your dream? And they just get to say some wild shit. And if it's the case where that's wild shit, I'm like, wow, that is wild. And having something like Dreamlike Realities where it's like, oh, you're having a magically induced kind of super dream, and I want you to describe what your dreams are. What's the vibes there, and how would you translate that into being a real illusion? Because I feel like by nature of illusions in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like they are discernibly not real, right? The same way you can realize I'm in a dream, right? And then you just have that awareness. And I really like that as like the way of explaining that kind of like
that
investigation.
I've never heard
thing.
of that.
Yeah.
I've never that kind of like eureka moment of oh, I'm in a dream, in the same way of like, oh, this is an illusion.
I like it better. I like it much better than like a typical illusion of it just being like, oh, it's like a bunch of holograms and mist, right? It's like
I can put my hand through
yeah,
it.
it's like that realization of like, oh, this, like a lot of spells don't really fucking make sense unless you contextualize them in a very specific way, and saying like, oh, it's just like having a dream and realizing you're dreaming is just a quick and easy way to make illusions work like that. And it lends a lot of power to the players to create their own dreams and create things. Serenep gets to have this dream of thinking of Karina, and because it's a magically induced dream, she literally envisions Karina and sees Karina in that current moment because Karina is looking for Serenep in her own class. And that's a wonderful, cool moment, right? And then with Integrity, she just makes some fucking sad shit. And I was like, oh my God, you're pathetic. As opposed to the incredibly like almost like violent or like malicious dreams of typical things. We might see more dreamlike realities, or, and this would be fun, when a student uses an illusion spell, we might see some of the things that I relegate to dreams creep into their illusions, right? So if Integrity was to try to start using illusion stuff, I might use that as a vessel to communicate progenitor things to Integrity Idleberry, right?
Love that.
And that's a way for me to show more than just Integrity those things, which I like. It's a convenient vehicle.
God, that's really good. I'm excited to see how you use that. And
I hope it comes up, Nathan.
If it doesn't, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Like, let's be real here.
I'm really excited for the prospect of it, and I like the idea. And if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. But I can always still just fucking be like, you're dreaming right now. You're having a terrible dream, right? That's always a power you have as a DM. That's my DM tip for this episode.
At any time, if you're like lost for words in a moment as a DM, you just say, you're in a dream, a bad dream. Speaking of bad dreams... nightmarish scenarios for some people.
Oh.
Yeah, I was curious about the event planning presidential campaign. Like,
marvelous. The
I
event
had to
planning.
put money on one of the 3 candidates.
If I had to put money on it?
Yeah, like just a simple bet. Who's gonna win? Yeah.
My money's on blue.
Hot damn. You heard it here,
There's
folks.
a reason. So within the event planning committee, everyone who made a Patreon character who you saw them on the event planning committee, you might know a little secret about your character, which is that they are not quite as organized as they seem on the outside. They are not quite as keen to be a leader as they might display to the outside, right? Even Mira, right, who is disorganized as shit, but on the outside can put together a nice facade of like, hey, I know what's going on, right? We saw this with Arlie and Bowen during the fucking Autumn's End Festival when they're like, who's gonna go talk? Do you want to go talk? I don't want to go talk. And then Mira's like, I guess I'll talk, right? So Mira's jumping into that leadership role in a way that no one really on the event planning committee has the nature to do. They're all here and they can be kind of relatively organized, especially around one another, but none of them are like jumping to be a leader. Bailey is jumping to be a leader, and before in the pre-Mira era, because of that, just unequivocally won, right? However, Bailey has things up his sleeve that will ensure he remains in power. And though he is frazzled at the prospect of having to fight for his position, I have the firm belief that Bailey Blue is a good and likely candidate for event planning committee president for the 3rd year running.
I don't know. You really fucked up the Autumn's End event, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how suitable is he?
Yeah, how suitable is the guy who won't speak out against Crow selling golems?
Damn.
And also doesn't have any information that he's hiding from anyone about the subterranean qualities of Wildcliff. On top of,
We don't know what kind of like magic he specializes in doing.
enchantment was a small component.
God,
I think.
all right, that's an evil thing to specialize in. We've seen how Mira has been doing. That's
Yeah,
an evil,
exactly, right?
School of magic.
Mira's really just Bailey Blue's protege, right?
That's so fucked up. Sarah's gonna be so mad when she hears that.
I really loved how that's.
Oh, she's back.
Oh my god! I hope the audio picked that up.
I hope so too.
I really loved how that scene played out. I enjoyed playing playing up the panic of mounting in Bailey, like his world crumbling around him in a way that he did not know was possible, right?
It felt like he was repeating all of the reasons why he has always reassured himself that like he's got this.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, of course no one is gonna like do this because hey, if 3 people like go in for it, then it becomes a school-wide thing. No one's positions are secure anymore, and they wouldn't want to fuck over other members of the event planning
right?
committee.
Everyone else has to run for it. Then it's a whole big hassle, right? Do you guys not remember when we did that like 3 years ago? And then we've just maintained this kind of like status quo since then because it's easy for everyone, right? It's easy for everyone when one person remains in power.
Any previews that you can give us of like what we can expect on the campaign trail before we sign off?
Everyone on campus has a vote. Everyone.
Even the professors?
Everyone on campus has a vote.
Even the golems?
And I'm so excited to see how that plays out.
You and me both. God, I cannot wait.
So, previews for the next episode. I'm very excited for Winsler and Integrity's fucking wild shit. I don't really know what they're planning. I have the barest idea of what the fuck they are doing in there.
You think Carla and Ben are making a plan?
Carla and Ben spent 6 hours, like, fucking texting and, like, looking in books. Carla never reads the rules of Dungeons & Dragons, and she was reading rules of Dungeons & Dragons, making plans with Ben, and, like, asking me very leading questions. So I think they're up to something, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. I'm very worried to see how it goes. But we will see archive things, new and old, and then we will see probably the Crow stuff. I hope that will come to light. And then we'll get into some campaign management, which...
Fucking excited.
We'll get into campaign management, but not before a wonderful nighttime interruption, probably. That's the best hint I can give.
You heard it here first, folks. Be on the lookout for a nighttime interruption. This is why you listen to CNC, right? To get the previews for the next episode.
It's sometimes very fun to tease like that, right?
Oh, it's great.
Sometimes I don't like doing it because I don't like talking about things early.
Totally understand.
To explain that, when I talk about things, I kind of lose interest in it, right? So
Feel that.
I'll keep it close to the chest. That's the reason I always keep everything so close to my chest, because I'm scared I'm going to fall out of love with it, right? But sometimes a little teaser just like really gets the juices going for D&D.
Thank you all for joining us. Luke, thank you for joining
It
us
was great.
today on Sliding into the DMs. Really enjoyed it. But as always, don't forget, if you really like Sliding into the DMs, if you like the podcast as a whole, hey, throw some cash our way.
Yes.
You can do that in a multitude of ways, from, patreon.com/trials and trebs. And then there's also trebmerch.com.
Yeah, that stuff, I feel like some people, I don't know if you in the audience understand, that has like an insane amount of like effect on us as the people who make this show, and it's amazing. If you have the means to financially support the show, like doing so is the kindest thing that you can possibly do, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, not only is it kind, it also truly does help improve the show as well. Like, that's how we pay for equipment. That's how, like,
It
we have a little bit more peace of mind going into these recordings.
It literally helps some people pay a little bit of their rent, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're doing a very kind thing.
It's true. If that isn't an option for you, it's totally understandable. Money is tight. Like,
That's how it goes.
trust me, I know. But hey, it doesn't cost a thing to write a 5-star review
Hell yeah.
on your podcatcher of choice. Baby, listen, we love it when people pour their hearts out and like let us read a full essay about like what TNT is meant to you.
Yeah.
However, if you don't have the time for that and you just want to put in a word, maybe a sentence in like a 5-star rating, I'll accept those too. I eat up stars like they're cereal.
Make it a little funny quip, and then that we're even, okay?
Yeah, if you say a quip, like a funny quip, I may even read one at the end of a CNC. Like, so be funny enough to appear on air, or else you're gonna embarrass me. Also,
Yeah.
social media. We got Instagram.com/trials and trebs, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Hell yeah.
Likely.
We got fan art, maps, real art.
If you make art, send it to us. Tag us in it, please, because you're all fucking talented artists, and you make a lot of beautiful art. And I want to tell an anecdote. Sorry, this outro's really fucking long. I was looking at like TikToks the other day of like Trials and Trebs, and I was like getting really emotional because I was like, wow, these characters are really cool, and I want to know more about them. And then I like stopped myself. I was like, you fucking idiot. I made these characters. I know everything about them. Like, so like the power that you have in making art is I guess the same power that we have in making this fucking silly show. So tag us in it, please. God, send it to us.
It truly is a revelatory thing to see someone making fan art of your character.
Yes.
Oh, God, I don't know. Like, seeing that you made a story good enough that other people are willing to put in work into something, like, regarding it.
It's amazing.
Truly the kindest compliment.
It's wild. Yeah. Or go on Discord and send directly on there.
Oh, fuck yeah. I forgot about Discord.
Yeah, it's chill.
Find
Everyone
the link to
does.
that in the podcast episode.
Absolutely.
Notes. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Fuck no.
That's where you're wrong.